Tonight, live from Virginia Beach, Virginia, podcasting all things musical from Southeast Virginia. Our sound, our songs, our artists, and our business. Welcome to SEVACAST with host Tom Farley and Alton Riddick. Let's get talking.
Thanks for the intro, Alton. Today's SEVACAST, we have a multi-talented musician. We not only a songwriter, not only a singer and performer, but also an educator. A man who's been around the area for quite some time and has constantly collaborating with his local artists on not only studio recordings, but live performances. His name is Jim Bulleit, and we're really, really happy to have him along today. So, Jim, how's it going?
I'm doing well. It's great to talk to you.
And how's COVID? I guess, how are you handling COVID?
COVID has been actually a gift to me. I hate to say that, but because I'm an introvert, I'm a very private guy, and just all the at home time has given me time to focus on my music in a way that I hadn't before, and I've adapted pretty well to the virtual work world. I'm tutoring at TCC, and I can do that from my home computer. And when I'm not busy, I can, work on songs. So
that's excellent, man. That's putting your time to good use. Some people have a real issue with that, but it's nice to know that you're on a good roll right now.
Yeah.
So let me start off with the standard first question. When did you begin that journey as a musician or as a songwriter or both?
I've been involved with music in some form since I was a kid. I played, trumpet in school band and played music or played in bands and orchestras all through elementary, junior high, and high school, and then also started singing in the chorus, I guess, in high school. And I was in my first working rock band at age 14, and we were playing high school dances when I was 14, so that was pretty cool. And didn't really learn to play guitar until the last years of my band experience when they needed an extra guitar. So I started to learn some chords, and then really kind of taught myself to play, and started doing the singer-songwriter stuff in college. Did the coffee house circuit and playing Dan Fogelberg covers and things like that. Didn't really think of myself as a songwriter at all until I was in my late 20s, I guess, and I was taking a poetry course for school, and I got the idea for some project. We had to present something, and I figured, I wonder if I could sing that, So I took the lines I'd written as a poem and threw some chords to it, and people liked it, and I thought, maybe I got something here.
You teach English, right?
Yeah. I taught English in the public schools for 30 years, and then when I hit the 30 years, I figured it was time to get out before I burned out.
I hear you.
Yeah, so I took my retirement, and I've been teaching. I taught part-time over at TCC English composition for about another 5 years, and then the past couple of years I've just been tutoring to give me more time to do music. So
did you take? I mean, I'm an English major myself.
Yeah.
So did you take that writing of the poetry and all the rest of that stuff just like almost goes hand in glove?
Yeah.
Did you see that as a really, really good skill set? Before you got into your songwriting, I mean, did it really just kind of was it an easy transfer?
Yes. I mean, I think I had a knack for writing in verse and writing, rhythmic lines and that sort of thing. I can give you couplets at the drop of a hat. So I think that helped a lot. It made it, but it was also restricting because I tended to use the same patterns over and over again, and I was always writing in iambic pentameter, things like that. So I've had to break those habits over the years, and but yeah, it's a wonderful foundation. I can always sort of fall back on that. And another thing, as an English teacher, I would steal lines. I mean, I've written several songs based on, a line from a poem. I mean, I wrote a song on W.H. Auden's "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night," and I wrote a song based on Hamlet's soliloquy and that sort of thing. So I just take a line or a phrase and run with it. I wrote a whole song about proof rock. yeah, that's been a
That's
been
okay,
fun.
man. Everybody sponges a little bit. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about that.
right. Yeah.
Well, listen, I
Somebody said
find
art is theft, right?
well, to a certain extent, you're absolutely right. That the sponge, however, does lead to litigation
Oh yes,
sometimes.
no. I try to steer clear of that. I only work with dead artists. So
I hear you, brother. So, everybody gets their inspiration. There are some songs that of yours that I really took to. We've had conversations before where I told you Unknown Soldier was the one that really grabbed me simply because it's a commentary about your relationship, I think, with your father.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's very intimate, and I can understand exactly what
My father never told me what it's like to go to war. I knew he'd been an officer, but precious little more. I grew up there in Vietnam when the war was on TV. I knew his war was different, but he never let us see. Was he ashamed? I wonder, or was he trying to forget? The soldier who my father was is a man I never met. He wore his khaki uniform once a month when I was young. But if he had any stories, well, they never passed his tongue. He shared a few mementos, a pair of chopsticks and a box made of rosewood carved with figures. The rest was under locks. Was he afraid to open up? Or was he...
Besides your own personal, emotional, and personal experiences, where do you get the inspiration for your songs?
That's been tough. I mean, I used to get criticized for writing too personally, because that's really all I wrote about. The first several years that I wrote songs, I only wrote about things happening in my life that I needed to talk about. The first song I wrote that was actually, worthy of people listening to was I had to do a eulogy for my grandfather's funeral, and I didn't want to compete with my brother, who is a fabulous public speaker and prose writer. He's a lawyer, and so I said I can't do anything to follow that, but I can write a song. And so I wrote a song called "Grandfather's Hands" that's on my first CD, and people loved it, and that's kind of got me started.
Understood.
But yeah, so it took me a long time to get out of that. I would just write about things that were happening in my life, and sometimes they connected with people, but they were really personal. I didn't write them for anybody else. And so over the years, I've tried to find things to talk about that are more universal. So I've been writing a lot of songs lately about what's going on with COVID and with racial unrest and with division in the country and that kind of thing. I still, my main source, I think, is still life experience, but I try to broaden it out and find the aspect of that people are going to connect with.
You had one of your songs, as far as the COVID thing, was recognized by Veer this year, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. I wrote something called "Catastrophic Thinking," which ironically was not written during COVID. But it was written on the premise that your cats are trying to kill you. And people just loved it when I would play it live. And so I did a really nice production with Zach Moats. So Jeff Macy picked it up as the best, or one of the best, pandemic songs of the year. Because I guess, people are at home with their pets and they're starting to look at them differently. but yeah, that one wasn't written that way. I wrote another one called For One Another, that Paul Chagru, played a lot. I think he noted it as a best of 2019 or something like that. No, it could have been 2019. So anyway, it was, that one got a lot of recognition too. And that was specifically about, what can we do when we're so isolated?
Absolutely.
We can sing for one another. So
understood. Let me ask you this. Where do you get your support? I mean, I guess you could say my strength, my foundation has always been Tanya.
Yeah.
She's my greatest advocate. I found it very, very difficult to advocate for myself, so to speak.
Right.
And so sometimes getting things off the ground took not only that encouragement, but also the support, and family and friends are one thing,
Right.
but sometimes from the business community. So where do you get yours?
Well, I didn't get the kind of, my parents were always very supportive of my musical endeavors. I mean, my dad, who didn't ever attend a baseball game, would come to my concerts. So that kind of stuck with me. My brother's been very supportive. He's a very gifted singer himself. He was in the Whiffenpoofs at Yale. So he's also my harshest critic. So he's a good person to have in my back pocket. I mean, he'll be real honest. He said, that's not a very good one. So, but he's always been very supportive of my endeavors as a singer songwriter. And my kids, both my sons are musicians, and they used to play along with me. We'd go out and do not festivals, but little, church fetes and things like that. And they would be my backup band. So I always got a lot of support there. Probably the most important thing in getting me sort of out on the circuit, though, was Barry Graham. Barry and I taught together at Kempsville High School, and he got wind of my music because I would play at school when opportunities arose, talent shows and things. He liked my music, and he booked me some jobs with like the Arts Festival and things like that.
He's a good man. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and then he had me on his show a couple times, and he's promoted my music pretty much throughout. So that's kind of how I think I started to take myself seriously because of Barry. And then once I got to that point, I sort of started looking elsewhere for, other ways to get my name out there.
Well, that kind of segues us into the next thing is that, recording your first album, a lot of people think about it and don't take the first step. They don't hang it out over the edge.
Right.
So what made you decide, man? And not only make you decide to do that, but who'd you pick to be on your first album with you? Why'd you choose them? That kind of thing.
Right. My first album was called A Family Album, and it was very much that. It was songs that I'd written about my family. I wrote the song about my granddad. I'd written another eulogy for my dad. I wrote a song about my mother. I wrote about falling in love. I wrote about having my first son and when my second son arrived. So basically, they're all songs I'd written about, family life.
Filling up these empty halls, I hear your voice, just as clear as yesterday. I know you're not there, but I hear you anyway. Are just memories that we won't let go. Ghosts only haunt us until we know. I wanna hold on to these ghosts. They bring me comfort in the night. I wanna hold on to these ghosts.
And I really wanted it to be a family production. And so I had my brother sang backups for me. My kids were too young, so they didn't actually play on it at that point. But I used only close family friends as musicians. And of course, that saved me money because they didn't charge me.
Sure.
So that was wonderful. But my good friend, John Brewington, who was a band director at Kempsville when I was there, and his two sons were like my two sons' best buddies. So we were real close. We were Cub Scout leaders together and so on. But he played drums for me. And good friend of mine from high school who was a supremely accomplished piano player named Pablo Davis, who's down in, I think he's a lawyer out in Memphis now. But he played piano, and a former student of mine who played the viola did a solo on one of the songs, and the rest of it's me, and my producer did put the bass parts on it. And the producer himself was somebody from Kempsville High School. So, and the art department at Kempsville High School volunteered to do the artwork on the CD. So everything was sort of in-house and close to home.
So where did you record it?
It was, what was it called? I think it was called Daily Planet Studios. It was right across the street from Kempsville High School. And I guess it was in one of those little warehouse kind of settings behind a food line or something. Yeah. But I'd seen it and was just kind of curious about it. So when I inquired, I found out the guy had been a student, and he cut me a deal, gave me a pretty good price on the time, and recorded everything in analog, which was great. So it had a really nice, warm sound to it.
There is a difference.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was the first one. And it was my midlife crisis. I mean, I hit 40 and I thought, okay, I need to do something to justify my existence. I don't really want to go out and buy a Corvette, but I want to do something, that's going to leave something behind.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So you've been playing around for a while, man. And there's, I always look at people over periods of time and see if I actually hear of a style in their songwriting, a style in their vocals, a style in their guitar playing or whatever instrument they happen to have. And to me, the thing that really caught me first, as far as you're concerned, was your voice. I looked at it as a young sounding Billy Joel. It has that tone to it. I went, damn. This, he and Billy need to sit down and have a conversation. I mean, the bottom line is it just caught my ear. And,
well, that's a huge compliment, Tom. Thank you.
Oh, no problem, man. It's you, But I know that there are certain things in your playing and your singing that are considered to be your style. So, do you feel like there's a distinctive style there, or are you in the middle of still developing it? Or
yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's something there. I think I'm not sure if there's really a style so much as an approach. I mean, it's very honest. It's very introspective and personal. The focus is always on the words. I won't write a song unless I have something to say. I mean, I don't like to write just to write. And I've been forcing myself for the past 30 weeks. I've been doing this Carl's Community Open Mic every week now for the past 30 weeks. And I've done a new song. I've written a new song every week. So I've had to really push myself to create, but I can't really write something that doesn't have something to say. I can't write just a love song or just a come on song. So that's, I think, honesty and, integrity in the lyrics has always been important to me. And I think that probably affects my delivery. I'm very earnest in the way I sing. It's kind of romantic and emotional, and vulnerable.
Understood.
So yeah, I guess maybe that's the sort of introspective singer-songwriter style. I think James Taylor, Dan Fogelberg. I guess that's kind of where I fall. But I've got another side too. I mean, I really love rock music, and my favorite songwriter is Elvis Costello. He's all over the map in terms of style. So
yeah, he is.
Yeah, so I try to let my style go where the song takes me. So if it's a rock song, I'll go rock it. If it's a quiet folk song, I'll fingerpick it and do that way. So,
so do you look at Fogelberg as like an influence on your folk or your acoustic style, and Costello on your rock style? Is that the way it works?
That's a pretty good way to look at it. Although I really love Costello's acoustic stuff, like the King of America album and the couple of straight acoustic ones he did after that, the songwriting on those is just phenomenal. Yeah, so I guess bottom line is no, I don't really have a style, but I have an attitude, which is to be saying something and to be honest. So,
well, Fogelberg's always been one of my favorites. So
yeah.
you couldn't have picked a better guy to go with than him. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So as far as playing style, there are certain licks going back to these sponging, aspects.
Yeah.
So who have you sponged off of the most? I guess you could say over as you're coming down the pike. So
I think probably James Taylor. I can't play like him. I've tried to play his songs and I can never really do it. But I mean, I call myself Little Hands of Concrete, which is something Elvis Costello coined a while back. I'm not a very, very adept player. I have no technique, no training. But I've taught myself to play things, and his licks and the kind of chord choices he makes and so forth have influenced my writing a lot. I had a big influence on my playing was Clapton, but that was more the electric side and more the lead side. So if I'm playing a solo on anything, it's always going to be inspired by that, I think.
Do you have the same influences as far as the way you approach your vocals?
With my vocals, I think I'm limited by my range. I don't have a huge range.
As are we all, man.
Yeah. And so, I guess I try to play to my strengths. A lot of people have told me that I sound like John Denver, so I'm comfortable. I've gotten comfortable with that style of singing, the vibrato and the open, the held notes and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, again, it's not anything I really think about, but it's whatever works for the song.
So speaking of songs, I know you must have some favorites on the original side, but also, from your Elvis Costello, Dan Fogelberg, James Taylor thing, what songs? I mean, there were certain songs that just really blew me out of the water in terms of, how incredible they were. Were there any song moments like that for you?
Honestly, just about everything I hear by Elvis Costello affects me that way. It would be really hard to pick out a particular one. And certainly some of the stuff on the early albums, like Angels, When I Wear My Red Shoes and things like that. There's a song, I can't even think of the title of it. Oh, Indoor Fireworks is one that really moves me, and it's just such a beautiful ballad. And it's basically a little country ballad. Fogelberg, Part of the Plan was probably a real awakening for me. I'd been raised on, the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and the Eagles and Yes and bands like that. And that's where my cover bands played. And then somebody gave me Dan Fogelberg's, I can't remember what the name of the album was. Souvenirs, I think.
Souvenirs.
And from the beginning notes of that song, I was hooked. And so that was a really important one for me.
Did you ever perform that song?
I've tried. I don't have his voice, and I can't play the guitar the way I need to for that song.
I understand.
But I've tried.
We performed it, but we had another person singing the lead. There's no way, I could handle that.
Back in college, I did a pretty good cover of Leader of the Band, but my falsetto was just not there anymore. So I've had to lose that. But my full voice has actually gotten stronger over the years, but the falsetto has kind of deteriorated. So.
Well, things get better with age in a lot of different ways.
Yeah,
man. Yeah. So let me ask you this. I know that for myself, there are certain places, venues, and certain, collaborations of band people or musicians that really stuck out with me in terms of just these are little magic moments. Do you have any performance, I guess you could say, venues or performances that just really stick out in your mind as being something super special in your career?
Yeah. When I looked at that question, I was thinking, are you talking about concert experiences, things I've seen. So that's actually what I anticipated there. But in terms of my own, I think I've really enjoyed. I hosted an open mic for Cold Pressed Coffee House for about 2 years, and it was specifically a songwriters open mic. So I would always invite, I'd handpick the people to come. I'd invite folks I knew that were singer songwriters, and sort of pack the list with those folks, and then anybody else who came could perform. But that was just a real joy, because it was just an intimate setting, and basically you were playing for other songwriters. So that was pretty great. Another really great moment, I think, was recently. I was selected to be the music mentor for the Proteus Festival at the Zyder's American Dream Theater this last year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so as part of that, I got to perform a couple songs on their stage with this phenomenal sound system. And so that was a real high point, even though it was during COVID and we had, people every 6 feet in so only about a third of a packed house, but it was pretty wonderful.
That sounds great, man.
Yeah. Yes, that was a biggie.
So, piggybacking on that, just how important are public performances in your life today? I mean, is it essential? You got to have it or you're going to die, or, just exactly what?
Yeah, I think I really enjoy it, but it also takes a lot of emotional energy from me. Like I said, I'm an introvert. I'm a very shy guy. So getting up on stage is not easy for me. And so I really pick and choose where I'm going to play. But I found places where I'm comfortable, and I never overbook myself. Once a week is plenty. A couple times a month is usually all I'll do. I really enjoyed, the past 2 summers. I've been the regular Friday night guy at, Why Not Pizza out in, Lansdowne Commons, because they have this open patio, and they basically let me play anything I want to play. So I mix in my originals, and people always enjoy it, and I'm just singing to have fun. So that's pretty great. And I don't feel pressure there. I know they like what I do, and so I'm not worried about making an impression.
But I think to go along with that, I think it's really wonderful that if you can find a venue that accepts original music. I've talked to many people who are in cover bands who have original material, and the club owners, they don't want to have any of it. I mean, you play covers or you don't play here at all. I've never understood that mentality.
Right.
But if you have a club owner that says, I want to hear your original stuff, throw in the covers too, but your original stuff is welcome here. Right. I find that to be really, really gratifying, and we need more of those kinds of people around.
Absolutely. That's the best. I've been really lucky. I mean, the open mic circuit works that way, that you can always do originals for that. And I've enjoyed some of those too. I'll do the Carl's open mic and a couple others. I guess up at Big Pink, I used to go up for those in Phoebus. Which is all original music. So, but yeah, to find a gig where you're actually getting paid to play your own stuff is really hard. And so I guess the nice thing about the Why Not gig is I'm getting paid because I'm playing predictable covers, but they're perfectly fine with me playing as much original stuff as I want to.
Well, that's excellent, man.
Yeah,
it's a rare find when you find a gig.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
Absolutely.
So have you expanded in other areas of music business as far as, trying to get your stuff synchronized or anything like that?
Two drawbacks there. I'm a technical troglodyte, so I have a real problem with any kind of technology. So that's limited me. But I'm actually doing a Facebook Live thing tomorrow night with my trio, and I've done Facebook Live with friends. So I've learned to use some of the technology, and I've got myself on streaming services now. And I made myself a website, and so I'm learning in baby steps to get my music out there. I have no business sense, and luckily I've never needed to do music for money. So, I've never made a penny from the music I've made, which is kind of sad in a way. But I make music for myself, and I make music so that people will listen to it. And if I can achieve those two goals, I'm happy. So,
well, yeah, those are two great objectives, and a lot of people don't even realize those in the long run.
Yeah.
Before we get into a little wrapping up, I really would like for you to tell people about your educational career a little bit.
Sure.
It's a big side. I mean, I know I have one. I know you have one. You're still engaged in it, and so tell them about that. I mean, where's the history there?
Well, I mean, my mom was a teacher. So right from the get-go, I think that was something I was being groomed for. I didn't know it when I went to college. I thought I was going to be a lawyer. And I quickly learned that wasn't for me. I've always loved English. And I don't think I took writing particularly seriously until I did have one really great writing course in high school. There was a creative writing course, taught by a fellow named Martin Galvin, who died a couple years ago, but he was phenomenal, and just had, interestingly enough, he would have us, read our poetry and so on. And a couple of people brought in guitars and sang their poetry. So that kind of planted that seed.
Sure.
Taught middle school and the high school English for 30 years, and just absolutely loved it. How much fun to be able to, read poetry to kids and talk about it,
Oh yeah.
Now it wasn't always easy,
No,
but,
I mean, but to engage in that conversation and that creative aspect of their lives, and to not only share it because you do it yourself.
Right.
Plus, to be a good English teacher, I know a lot of people don't understand what goes on behind the scenes. You just don't, assign a paper and then give it a check mark. You got to plow into it if you're going to be good at it. And,
right.
And at the end of the day, that's a real joy, because you're not just plowing into words, you're plowing into their hearts, sometimes even their souls.
Right.
And it makes all the difference. It does for you, but also for them as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I really, I loved teaching, and I know that I was, and I don't mean to sound egotistical, but I know I was a beloved teacher. I still have students that contact me by Facebook and fondly remember the days when I taught their class, because I tried to make it fun. I tried to make it creative. I always gave them assignments that were fun and creative with the literature. They had to, when we did the Odyssey, they had to write their own personal Odyssey. And when we did I did on poetry every year, and I'd bring in my guitar and perform Don McLean's Vincent, and I'd have students write their own poetry, and we did a coffee house kind of thing. So I mean, I do whatever I could to make it fun and engaging, and I think that stuck with them.
You're one of the good guys, man.
I hope so. I feel like I made a difference, and that's very rewarding. There's nothing better.
Oh, absolutely. I understand completely. All right, let's. It's almost time to wrap up. So you need to let us know where can we find out more about you? Where website, Facebook, whatever the case might be.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm pretty primitive in this stuff, but I do have a Facebook page, and I post videos of new songs there, and if I've got gigs, I'll post them there. It's at Jim Bulleit Music, JimBulleit. And I also created a website on Wix sites. So it's just jrbullet .wixsite, WIXSITE.com. And that has sort of my history and links to all my past recordings, and quite a few demos of new songs as well. And probably the best way to stay up with what I'm doing would be through Facebook, because I do announce things there. And then I'm very grateful to Radio Seva for getting me out there. So,
well, we're glad to have your music on there, man. There's such a variety of styles and stuff that you bring to the platform. Sharing the air with you is a pleasure, man. Trust me on this.
Thank you so much.
Check out Radio Seva by going to the Seva Sound homepage and clicking Radio Seva, or to live365.com and search Radio Seva. If you have any questions, comments, or topic ideas for SEVACAST or for Tom and Alton, go to sevasound.com and click on the Contact tab.